have been conditioned as children. Little boys have not. If a man cries in front of society, he's going to get laughed at.
For the first time ever, I can choose myself. I am going to choose me. I don't think that's what God would want for me.
Your life can change in a blink of an eye. The older you get, the more solidified you are.
Girl, you doing too much.
Yeah.
He did that. He engulfed himself. If I like him, nationality really doesn't matter. Hey guys, welcome back to More to Life. Now, before I get into this video, I ask that you like, comment, subscribe. Also, smash that notification bell just to be sure you get on my videos as soon as I release them. Let's get right into this.
So I recently got out of a relationship. Actually, I didn't recently get out of it. The relationship has been over. I have recently released myself mentally from that relationship. The relationship is over a long time ago, but I was mentally stuck there for a very long time. And I recently had some closure for myself and still, go through the ups and downs of grieving and all of that, but I'm trying my best to make it to the other side of that. And I have started to date again, which has been very interesting for me. And in dating, I met a really nice guy, like a really incredible guy, super sweet, so thoughtful, like everything on paper that you would want, but I didn't feel that thing. And I don't necessarily feel like when I meet somebody, I have to be head over heels for them. Like, that's not my thing. It's more just like there has to be a genuine excitement or interest. And if I don't feel that, you can't fake it. And I'm not saying you can't gain it along the way through platonic friendship and things like that, but it's really hard for me to want to be in a relationship with someone romantically if I don't feel that thing. And so I was really conflicted because this person was just so good on paper. Like, they were so fantastic. And I was like, Lord, here's this person that I feel like could be it, right? And it's like, and was just a kind person, but I just didn't have that thing. And I started to think about like some of the cycles that I go through in relationships and with myself. I noticed that I tend to when I get out of relationships that required a lot of me, whether that is mentally, whether I was in a space where I really liked someone, I tend to then, if that relationship doesn't work out, I tend to look for a safer relationship after. I say safer, it's like that great guy who is not going to hurt you, who you can depend on and trust in, all of those things, but you're not necessarily feeling that spark. And so I just sat with it and I was like, I could get in this cycle again and like find myself in this long-term relationship with this person, or I can trust that what's coming isn't going to be something that I have to settle for or convince myself of, and just choose myself in this situation. For the first time ever, I can choose myself and just choose not to get in this cycle of like toxic relationship to safe, but just be okay with being alone. And yes, that might mean that I'm someone who projects into the future. So I'm like, okay, another year of no matching holiday pajama sets, and the grapes under the table on New Year's may not have worked. But it's like, there was so much power in me deciding I'm going to choose me, and I'm going to trust that whatever is coming for me is not something that I'll have to settle for romantically, because I don't think that's what God would want for me. Like, the best that God has for me cannot be the person that I'm like, I don't really like them, but they're nice.
She added God into that?
Settle for romantically, because I don't think that's what God would want for me. Like, the best.
Wow. She added God into it. God has nothing to do with your poor decisions. If anything, he wants you to have that nice guy. Maybe that guy prays every day. Maybe that guy is praying to get you. You ever thought about that? She didn't. But he's too nice. Let me let her finish. Let me let her cook.
That God has for me cannot be the person that I'm like, I don't really like them, but they're nice. And so, I don't know. I think sometimes we convince ourselves like, oh, this thing is good enough. And we kind of take things into our own hands. And we're like, because this is good enough and because I don't know what's coming, I'm not going to trust what's coming. And instead, I'm going to settle here. But there was something so powerful about just deciding for myself. I actually don't know what's coming. I trust something is, but I don't know. And even though I do not know what I am not going to do to myself, is settle and just fall into relationship with people that and men that I don't necessarily feel that strongly for. So that was a revelation for me.
She's starting it already. She's starting a roller coaster, right? There's other women, 40 years old, that thought the same way she did in her 20s, like this woman is. Thought the same way. So then he didn't work out. That next guy, he gives that spark. He's going to be a guy. Listen, if anything, when you said God doesn't want that for me, no, he wants that for you. Listen, it's not about the sparks. The guy that gives the sparks is the guy the woman wants. And the guy that y'all all list on paper, that's him, the bad boy, the one that's going to keep you guessing. Why would you want to stay guessing, not knowing if you're with him or not? And then same thing, 5 years later, you break it off. She wants that. She wants someone to look down upon, actually. Not look down upon him because she's in love. She wants to be looked down upon because she is. Shung, yeah.
Leftover women.
Stop criticizing men for not being emotionally available. It's not that they're not emotionally available. It's the simple fact that men have been conditioned to repress and neglect their own emotional needs. I'm going to break this down two ways, and I need you all to listen. When you all were children, men were handed action figures and toys and tool sets and blocks and stuff like that. And little girls were handed dolls and kitchen sets and easy bake ovens and things like that. So little girls were conditioned to be nurturing and to be attuned to emotional needs already, because when the baby cries, the little babies, the little dolls that they have, they cry or they poop or anything like that, they put the baby up, they change them, they pat, pat, pat. Oh, it's okay, rock, rock, rock. But little boys are handed action figures, these based off of these superheroes who typically, these vigilantes who typically, they don't cry, they don't really show emotion, they just problem solve, they analyze. That's just what they do. They save, they protect. That's what they do. So little girls have been conditioned as children to be nurturing and to understand emotional needs. Little boys have not. I'm going to give you all a second example. Little boy versus a little girl. If a little boy falls and scrapes his knee and he goes and he's crying to somebody, most times people are going to tell them, shake it off. His parents, his grandparents, aunties, uncles are going to say, shake it off. Toughen up. Man up. You're a little boy. Why are you crying? But a little girl, as soon as she scrapes her knee and she comes around family, oh, it's okay, baby. And they kissing a boo-boo and they doing everything else. So little boys have already seen that a little girl's emotional needs, her physical needs, are always going to be prioritized over him. So instead of showing emotions, they neglect and repress their emotions. Instead of crying because they don't want to be criticized or shunned for their emotions, what they do is they start soothing themselves. They just toughen up. They dismiss their own emotions. That emotional neglect turns into self-soothing. And when that self-soothing starts to manifest, it turns into self-reliance. That turns into hyper-independence, to where they feel as though they can't depend on anyone. So a lot of times men have been conditioned not to be expressive. That's the reason why you see that. Society is still the same way even today. If a man cries in front of society, he's going to get laughed at, called the simp, called whatever. You too sensitive, you're feminine, those type of things. So society even still encourages that emotional repression. You know how hard it must be for a man to actually want to cry. He feel it deep in his stomach, deep in his chest, that he's sad, but he can't express it. And here's an emotional trigger. Whenever you're constantly expressing your dissatisfactions, you're constantly nagging, you're constantly asking for this, instead of actually showing some type of appreciation, instead of giving them the safe place to speak, instead of allowing them to be seen, allowing them to be heard. Instead, you're always criticizing them, or you're always right, or you're always in a need to be in control. You are triggering them. And what you're triggering is more repression. What you're triggering is that dismissive or avoidant behavior. So I want you all to think about that. Instead of you saying that men are not emotionally available, maybe take some time to understand them so you can learn how to help them.
Nothing else to say. That woman clearly understands men.
Finally.
That's us in a nutshell. And more women. I know she's doing coaching. A lot of women are watching her, but more. I mean, more need to watch her. Because if any woman is getting any coaching, I would say it needs to be from someone like her. Very well spoken. Means what she says. And what she's saying is right. She didn't make anything up. Men are like that. Men are raised to be like that. I even raised my brothers like that. I'm the oldest. And I raised my sister like that too. She got raised like a boy. But That's what happens. But still, that's us in a nutshell.
The fine line between being somebody's helpmate and being their mother. And I was dancing on the mother side for a long time. And it's not to bash men or anything like that. It was just like I had to look inward and be like, girl, you doing too much.
Yeah.
You're doing too much.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, like, yeah, I may have felt like I was in love or infatuated, but I was also exhausted.
Oh, because you're mothering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it looks different than being a helpmate.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you're not complimenting each other.
Right.
And of course, like you can have periods where one person may be down bad.
Yeah, that
unemployment.
happens.
That's different though. Versus
but those shouldn't be prolonged.
Potatoes. Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. And I want to add this in here just so I know I said it. Because I'm going to put the clip up and I already know. People will listen to whatever they want to listen to and hear something else. What you're saying, I'm a man and I know exactly what you're saying. I've had this conversation with many different women, even Naima, my girl, where she's talked about her past relationships and how things went down. This is a very common experience between women and men, even men and women.
They're both wrong, by the way. And also, they're both very young. So they don't understand marriage. Like, I'll let them speak.
Right? It happens all the time in relationships. So if this is something that gets people upset, it is what it is, right? Like they have to look inward and understand, where that's coming from, because I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. There's a difference between being a helpmate and being a mother, right? Like when you come into a relationship and you're mothering a man, that looks like you're trying.
It doesn't. And I'll explain. It's a case by case basis because I'll give you an example. And I know she's not talking about this, but sometimes my wife needs to be my mother. Of course, she cooks for me. She does other things for me. And she makes sure things get done. Now, as a wife, yes, sometimes you do need to be a mother. You do. I wish you would have explained a little more of how you were mothering him, because then I can elaborate more. But even so, I'm coming from a husband standard, and my wife babies me, I baby her. It's give and take, always, when it comes to relationship. And you have to be willing to do that. Now, if you're mothering a guy saying, oh, let me get the jewel off your mouth, that's something different. But if it's something minor or something you should be doing anyway as a loving person because you eventually want to have that guy's children, yes, you do need to show that so the guy can take you serious. But other than that, it's probably not what she's talking about. But still, I would love to hear more.
You know what the beautiful thing about being single and 30 is that if you are out there seeking your person and that is like something that you want in your life, you can fall in love tomorrow. You never know when you're going to run into your person, and these could be.
When you're single and you're 30, Shangye!
Over 27, unmarried, female. What do you call this lady? In China, if women who remain unmarried in their late 20s and 30s, we call them 剩女, which means leftover women.
We got to start saying it loud, right? Because you see me doing videos on it in China. And they're out there screaming, Shang, yeah. Even though some women still don't get it. Women here need to start getting it too. Shang, yeah.
The last moments that you're having single, and these could be the last moments that you have alone, where you get to be selfish and be in your apartment and only think about yourself and spend all your money on yourself, because your life can change in a blink of an eye. Because I think that when you're 30 and you're single and you do find your person, if that's what you're seeking, it will happen very quickly because you're more defined in what you want and what you want in another person and who you are and your career goals and that person's career goals. I think that the older you get, the more solidified you are in your persona, and hopefully the other person that you're with is also. So it's either it's gonna work or not. You can find that out fairly quickly versus dating in your 20s. There is some period of time that happens where it's a transition of who you were in your early 20s to your late 20s. And I do think that it's very drastic, the person that you are in your early 20s and your late 20s, and also solidifying your career and financially. A lot of people are usually I don't know where they want to be, and also your self-esteem is different. So I don't know, I always want to grasp onto my single moments so bad because I really enjoy them, and I know that I will.
You want to grasp onto your single moments so bad? You're 30 what? Because you have a pretty face. But the way everything's sitting under your eyes, look like you're 30 something. You don't be grasping onto your singleness at 33. You need to start looking. But let me let her finish.
I will look back on this time and be like, wow, like that was like those were some really golden days. So yeah, if you're single and you're 30 and you are seeking that person, just enjoy where you're at now, because literally a year from now your life could be completely different and you could be like fully in love with the person that you know you're going to marry, and you will never have this era back in your life again.
I swear, guys say it, and I'm old enough to know it because I've seen other generations. I grew up with generation before me, right? I grew up with the baby boomers. My parents were baby boomers, and I saw how it was. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and it was a different time. It truly was. It was a different time. The women that were around were on it for the man. They had to be. They were there for the kids. Nowadays, everyone's just running amok, doing whatever they want. It's sad. And women like her are an example. Enjoy it. Enjoy your singleness. She's young, yeah. It's going to be a lot worse. She's risking being 40 with no husband, nothing. People don't understand. Yeah. He did that. He looked like a passport bro, too. But he did that. He went out to Japan and engulfed himself in a culture.
That's what we do, right? Yeah.
He engulfed himself, right? You see him there with her on a horse and carriage, and that's just how it looks when you see those Japanese cartoons. Engulfed himself, and that's what guys are trying to do. I second this. I think more guys should try to do it. Would you? Sure, it's nationality. Wouldn't matter to me at all. He can be Japanese, American. If I like him, nationality really doesn't matter.
This is the way.
I think it'd be fun to date a foreigner. So these Japanese girls want us, man. Oh, she said probably not. Language. Guys, you see that? She said language barriers. But I wouldn't say never. See, this is the biggest concern, because the other woman didn't really realize. But what if a guy comes there speaking your language? All bets are good, right? Because that's what guys need to do. When you travel across these borders, when you go to Japan, when you go to China, when you go to Korea, even when you go to the Philippines, Thailand, you need to learn the language. Why? So you can communicate with her in her own language, so she can feel comfortable, so you can communicate with her friends. Yes, it will be situations where you're with a group and she wants to go hang out with 10 of her friends and you're sitting there like the eyeball. But guys are figuring it out. But one set of guys that are figuring it out is who? You already know who. The Africans. The original passport bros. Those guys are the original passport bros, hot steppers. Let me explain to you. Because I'm out here in the Philippines, right? They're out here in record numbers. I'm talking about the last place I was living, all I seen was African guys. Where I live now. The guys that were living in other place before, where I lived at before, the African guys, they're living over here with me now. And I see tons. But how many black people do I see? I see a little bit. Not nowhere near as much as I do African guys. But more guys need to travel. More guys need to take risks. Need to figure out how to get jobs online if they're not retired. If you need help, I'll help you. Be sure to send me an email. But yeah, guys got to get it done. And more guys are going to try to get it done because they realize there's definitely more to life than doing anything that's not that.
Do not be troubled, brothers. What we do in life echoes in eternity.